Disclaimer, this podcast discusses mental health. It is not a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. If you're struggling with your mental health, please remember it's okay to ask for help and seek the appropriate help through a qualified healthcare professional.
Welcome back to the podcast where we ask the question, what makes you happy? My name is Jake Pearson, and our guest today is a Vedic meditation teacher who teaches a 20-minute meditation technique which is shown to dramatically lower stress and allows people to shift from stress, anxiety, and feeling overwhelmed to a feeling of joy, calm, and greater overall happiness. Neo Silva from Ashburton, Victoria, Australia. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here and, representing the same country, which is fantastic. Tell me, Neo, what does make you happy?
It's deep connection. A lot of people for the past couple of years have felt some disconnection. And when I say deep connection, it's deep feeling moments of deep connection with other people, or with places, or with things. Right? But it's those moments. They're the ones that do bring happiness. As an example, it happened just yesterday, actually. It's with a client, and she'd been saying how she'd been struggling for the past couple of months because she got COVID, and she'd just been feeling flat and fatigued, and just a lack of motivation for certain things that previously put a spring in her step. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm just really flat." And just yesterday, she said, "I'm already feeling it. I'm feeling a shift around it." And it was just a beautiful moment, because it's a case of, I loved it because, one, she shared this and there was genuine connection. And obviously it's a joy to see someone feel a shift where they've struggled for a little while. And that's actually why I do what I do. I used to be corporate. And in corporate, you tend to lack some of those really authentic moments, those authentic connections. And what swung me to doing what I do is, back in 2016, I was giving some talks on this to corporates in central London, stressed out. and a couple of them afterwards came up to me and they said, that was really helpful. And there was also this look of gratitude and relief, because I'd suggested a couple of things they could do. They were all stressed because Brexit was going to come. It was going to impact the economy and their jobs and all this. I suggested a couple of things, and they're like, it's just that look of relief and gratitude. And I'm like, you know what? If I could packet that, if I could bottle that, I can just live off that, right? And you don't get that in a corporate setting where, there's just a greater degree of disconnection. What does bring you happiness is not actually the thing itself, right? It's not the thing. It's not the person or the Amalfi Coast or whatever it happens to be. That helps, but it has to trigger something that's, a bit of rest and a bit of quiet that's inside.
Absolutely.
And it stirs that, and then you feel the connection. But you've got to kind of have...
Well, let's frame it this way. Someone walks up to you in the street. They're struggling with those type of thoughts. They're not happy. They ask you, "Hey, what would you say to me right now? Because I'm struggling." In that moment, what would your advice be to that person? What would be the one thing you want to convey to them?
Well, I'd convey to them that there is a way to get out of their own head and to feel the connection, right? There is a way. There are moments... See, we all move through states of consciousness through our everyday, right? You move from sleeping, sleep and dream to wake, to the feelings of greater fatigue, and to a need for a coffee. These kinds of things, right? You move through different phases and different states, and you can actually shift that. We do it anyway, and you can actually systematically shift it. And so the point is that what I'd tell them is, that they can actually do something about it, right? And when they do something about it, then they'll start to rekindle the kind of sense of joy that they had before life and stress and all of that.
Neo, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear all things that make you happy and that wonderful piece of advice there at the end. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening to the podcast. We hope it gives you something to think about on your quest to discover what makes you happy. Make sure to check out whatmakesyouhappypodcast.com to connect with today's guest and follow us on all our social media platforms and to stay up to date at what's happening next and what makes you happy. Don't forget to share this episode with a friend, and we'll see you next time.